Good morning. It's a disgusting day in Vancouver. Forget January, this is July-uary. Well, we had a nice spring, and hopefully the weather will improve next week. So, we're gonna talk hydrangeas today. You've been given a gift of a hydrangea by some well-meaning friend. Now the blossoms have faded and you're wondering what to do with it. Sun, shade, where do you put it? Okay, well, these are hydrangeas that have been planted in full sun, and as you can see, they're doing great. The thing about planting them in full sun is they will bloom earlier, and the blooms will last less time. In shade, they'll bloom a little later, and they'll last longer because they don't get burnt by the sun, cooked by the sun. But they're incredible plants. They're very, very tough. They can take just about any condition. They're not prone to disease, they're not prone to insects, and they don't grow really fast, so you can keep them under control. In the fall, you would cut them back about 25–30%, and then they'll return to the same size next year. Take out all the old canes. Another remarkable aspect of hydrangeas is you can affect the color by what you put in the soil. So if you research that, you can actually change blue to pink, which is amazing. Also, this is the most common breed, the most common type of hydrangea is bobblehead. But there's so many today, they get weighed down by the moisture in the blossom. They get heavy, and they start to drop. So it's a good idea. Take your secateurs and cut out the lower ones. But don't cut them too short because the stiff branches will support the ones above. It's starting to turn brown. If they do that, cut them off. But under the right circumstances, they'll actually ripen into a beautiful dead flower. And if that happens, you can cut them and dry them and they'll last for years. Remarkable. Okay, this stand of hydrangeas is more than 2 weeks behind the bobbleheads I just showed you that were bright pink. And that's because they're planted in semi-shade. They're also planted under the drip line of a pine tree. So let's just assume that you've been given a beautiful bouquet of hydrangeas that are in a pot by your friend, which is a common gift. And the flowers have faded and you're wondering what to do with that pot of beautiful hydrangeas that have just stopped blooming. Well, you can plant them along the drip line of a pine tree by cutting the branches up above head height to make a room, and then planting along the drip line here so that they do get water, but they're also getting the benefit of acid from the needles. Okay, and that will actually affect the color of the bloom. It's the only plant that I know that you can actively affect the color of the bloom by the acidity of the soil. So under a pine tree, a hydrangea should turn blue, and a bright blue. You also create a nice sitting area here in the rain. Tour. Bobbleheads I just showed you are the most common hydrangeas. But mountain hydrangeas are also very common, and they typically have a cluster of florets on the outside, on the inside, and then I believe these are altered leaves. They're not technically flowers, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's mountain hydrangea, and there's lots of them in this bed. There's a pink bobblehead thrown in, someone's gift. Lots of mountain hydrangeas, beautiful blue and purple, one of the more unusual ones. Then as we come around the corner, there's a fantastic giant pink bobblehead. I mean, look at that compared to my hand. It's huge. So this here is climbing hydrangea. and I think it's the only type of hydrangea that climbs. There may be more, but it's the only one that I'm aware of. It's an incredible vine. It actually adheres to walls. I'll show you in a second how it clings onto walls. And it can grow up to 100 feet up a wall. Now, this one is much smaller, and it's been controlled in this area, and it has to be cut back twice a year. It's finished blooming. You can just see the remnants of its last blossom right here. I'll bring you in close up in a second. Now, going around this stone wall, I've actually planted 3. This is the biggest one. Then there's a smaller one here that's coming. It's maybe 3-4 years old, so it's been around. I mean, it'll be up here next year. And then around the corner is a much smaller one. It might not even survive. There's not a lot of light here, and I think it needs a little more light, although these ones are happy. So yeah, let's go on a little tour. Okay. So here's the spent blossom. You can see it's got that central section of flower and then the florets around the perimeter. And this would all be white when it's in full bloom. And it smells nice. You can see the vine here is getting thick and old and it's stuck onto the wall. These ones are adhered. Yeah, that's it. Climbing hydrangea. Now behind the climbing hydrangea, over here, is another hydrangea that's on standard. Hydrangeas on standard means that they're little trees, and this is a big one, must be 6 feet at least, and it's covered in blossoms that are just coming. So hydrangeas bloom at vastly different times. There's a hydrangea on standard here, and then back here, through this little opening, you can see another one coming. Right there. And it's got a little more light, so it's actually more advanced. Finally, I want to introduce you to a celebrated variety of Pentacle Hydrangea. A panicle is a blossom type that is cone-shaped. You can see it here. And this particular hybrid used to be so exotic and difficult to find, and now it's $39.98 at Home Depot. The reason it's celebrated is because it starts out with these beautiful white cone-like flowers, much bigger than what you're seeing, and they eventually turn pink. Pinky Winky, which is kind of a rude name, but whatever, it's beautiful. And they are huge and gorgeous and reliable. This will go to about 7 feet in diameter, so that's why I'm giving it lots of space amongst these other plants. Also, I've set it back a bit because it will lean south towards me. It's been dug in a very dry, very rooty area. I've made the hole bigger than the pot and just as deep, because we don't want it to be sinking down. In fact, I may bring some soil next week and raise it up a little bit so it has more presence, but I think it'll be fine. So you put some bone meal and some food in the hole to give it a kick, and also lots of water. So we will fill that hole with water. There we go. Then haul out. What? Right into a big murky hole full of water. Rotate it a little bit so it's got its nicest face forward. There we go. Backfill. And you're done. Pinky Winky.